Greetings and God bless. I was watching a video, and the speaker was saying that it's impossible to solve homelessness, and everybody's just, a wreck, and all you do is you just maintain them. And so we have seen a lot of Democrat cities just handing out drug paraphernalia. And also, I just noticed this week, it's middle of June 2023, that Denver police found a lady with, like, I don't know, just a huge amount of cocaine and fentanyl, and they didn't charge her for anything. And who knows where all this very valuable cocaine and fentanyl is probably going to go in the system. So more people in Denver and people who visit become crazy drug addicts. So I don't think that it's an impossible problem. I think you need to get rid of your corrupt infrastructure. And we have a corrupt justice system, clearly. We have a corrupt police system. And I mean, like, corrupt where the police don't arrest people who are disturbing the peace nowadays because of that. Um, the Marxist movement trying to defund the police. So now the police are like, okay, well, we won't do anything, you know, unless we are sure that the system has our back. Because even people, like with what happened in New York with the guy who stopped the aggressive, mentally ill guy threatening the people on the train, if you're defending yourself, you're going to be arrested and imprisoned, you know, because nobody's willing to do the right thing anymore. So, uh, also, there's a crazy housing crisis that's been going on for years. And so, when there's no housing available within a reasonable amount, um, of a price, of an average, entry level living wage, there's no place for people to live, literally. So, and what I notice is investors and um, like owners of properties, they're just like, how much can I squeeze out of the renter, and how little can I do to make it not a completely condemned slum. And so cities are corrupt because all cities care about are property taxes. They don't care about the safety of their community. They just want more money to steal so they can go on trips and, I don't know, buy adrenochrome or something like that. So so there's just all this massive corruption on every level. And the people who have leverage, the people who are blessed and functional, they know how to turn a blind eye to the corruption, because that's what they do for a living. There's people who love to, uh, say, homeless people, or yeah, just that they're just losers and hopeless and helpless. But we are in an evil, fallen world, and even the good people, they just know how to play the game. And there's very few good people that are really fighting the system. And when they do, they are targeted and, done away with one way or the other, whether it's lawfare, like lawsuits or false accusations, or being suicided or murdered. A lot of alternative health doctors have been suicided or seem to have come to a very early demise, even though they had the best health information and technology and whatnot. So, what I what I'm confident in, because in the past, like England, like Charles Dickens' novels was all, it referred to this, the tragedy and pathos of poverty, but somehow that degree of poverty changed, and it wasn't that all the children were sent to pedophile homes like it seems to be now. Like Child Protective Services is known for sending little children to pedophile homes, and nobody's, like the trusted agents of the public good are like, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with sending a little innocent child to a pedophile's home to be raped? And who knows? But that's the world we're in, and the people who have leverage and who are functional, they don't want to know this kind of stuff, and it is so horrible. Like, even when I'm like reviewing my videos, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so heavy, it's so terrible, but this is a fact, this is a reality. And so I think fundamentally people need to get in touch with God, because we're in this demonic, satanic realm. Everything is fallen. We're in a fallen world, and the only way we can fight it is through the grace of God in the name of Lord Jesus Christ. So we've wandered so far away from what made this country a sacred country. We've wandered far away from all that is holy. And, you know, like, I think that's why people are traumatized. And I think that's where, like, when we turn to God and we learn more about Jesus, Lord Jesus Christ, I think we can have, you know, at least perspective, and, begin our post traumatic growth. But yeah, I think it's really pathetic when people are like, oh, there's nothing you can do about homeless people. No, no. Like, and the thing is, everybody has friends who are in the system, and everybody is doing anything for money, like for as much money as possible, for as much status as possible, and they think that they're such great people. Like, I was watching a video, World According to Briggs, and he was saying how when he was growing up in, I think, was it Oregon, or anyway, he was saying how everybody called taking public transit being a loser, like it was a loser cruiser or something like that. That really offended me. Um, and and I guess people feel that way. I met somebody who was like, they would never go to the library because he considered that the library was where poor people went, even though this guy was poor. Like, he was greatly in debt, and yeah, just because you're never going to the library or never taking public transportation doesn't mean you're a high caliber, like, person. So, but anyways, I think we have to have a moral backbone, and the trusted agents of the public good don't have a moral backbone, and even most regular just commerce doesn't necessarily have a moral backbone. um, and unless it's like really basic, like you're gonna buy something at the 7-Eleven, and it's $2 and you pay $2. Like, it just seems like there's scams wedged in anywhere, anytime possible, and there's very, and it's up to the customer's due diligence. And worse, if you do your due diligence, people are offended. They're like, what? I don't get to gouge $2,000 out of you? That's not fair. Like, it's ridiculous. So I think, what the solution is. Number one, have a moral backbone, and the way you get the moral backbone is reading the King James Bible and really having a relationship with God, and having this relationship with God through Lord Jesus Christ. And then practically, it seems in my experience, homeless people congregate at the same area. When I was in New York City, they would all the drug addicts and mentally ill, they would all congregate outside this particular pizza place. I think they were maybe selling drugs there, or at parks. Here in Denver, it's like same places or wandering along the 16th Street Mall, like as you're getting closer to like Target. So, what these people need is they need medical care. I see so many, I don't understand all these like cuts on their faces, lacerations. I don't know if they're having fights with people or what, but or it's that trank stuff mixed in fentanyl. I don't know, but there needs to be medical care. There needs to be psychiatric care, and there needs to be a place for these psychiatric patients who are aggressive. They're on drugs. They're, I don't know if it's speed. I don't know what it is, but they're looking for a fight. I don't know if these are veterans who are just messed up and maybe they are on their medications, but it's not right. And the thing is, the medical industry is not here to help us. The medical industry is just a tool. It seems to to harm, and to make people harm themselves and others. Where so nobody knows it's doctors and nurses and pharmacists that are making people kind of crazy. Um, but yeah, so there needs to be like direct medical care for injuries that are just right there. Psychiatric care. There needs to be, I don't know, like, there's these large RVs where it's for this or that, like for um, a Red Cross or whatever. I mean, so you fit one up for the psychiatric section, you fit one up for just medical stuff, then have maybe a portable laundry thing so the people can wash their blankets and stuff. Maybe where there's clothes, free clothes. Like I have never seen, like I've never been in such a place as Denver where so many young men and men are bare butt, like their pants are at their ankles. They don't have pants. I don't know. Wintertime, I'm seeing homeless men with no shoes, and it's like freezing weather. I mean, when I was in Iowa, the black, and this is black generally, young black men, young and or men, same thing in Iowa too. It's like this, like black men are like, I must show you my butt. I must show you, like young men are like, I must show you my butt. I can't have my pants up. And I wonder what this does to you, like when you're not allowed to have your pants up at your waist, or when you think that you can't have or you shouldn't have, or like I knew somebody who said it was very comfortable not to have it was comfortable to have your pants below your butt. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, so it seems to me that homeless people, especially the men here, need pants, they need belts, they need shoes. Um, and, I think that would be a start. I don't know. It seems like, they have, um, and the thing is, it seems to me these people qualify for disability, like SSI. These people are clearly messed up. Um, and you know what, housing, oh my gosh, how did I forget to just bring this up much earlier? So there needs to be housing, and the thing is, like, it's like, so people who are active in local government, they're always like against housing that anybody could afford. So these people who are against low income housing, what they're doing is they're making it so low income employees have no place to live. And then people have the nerve to complain nobody's filling low income jobs. Like nobody's doing these entry level jobs. The reason why nobody's filling these entry level jobs is there's no place that they can afford to rent to get to there. And people are not going to drive 5 hours to go to work at 7-Eleven. And these ignorant, anti poor people, anti low income people, like, they want the convenience of somebody to serve them their donuts and coffee and stuff like that, but they don't want to allow anybody to have a place they can afford to live, and because they're so afraid of poor people. But the thing is, then the poor people are just on the sidewalk here sleeping on the concrete. So, and I think, and of course, like I said before, I mean, we need to have law and order upheld. So you can't have, if somebody's breaking the law in an apartment, like, it's not against the law to be low income, but that's what I noticed a lot of cities in in the US are like. They're like, oh, you're on low income, you don't deserve to be here. Like, when I was living in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was trying to get to the bus, it took it was like a 3-hour bus ride and maybe a couple transfers, and I never made it to the beach. And like, cities try to ruin it for low income people to access something. It's like, there's a caste system here in America, I find, and it's really exacerbated. It's really increased, I would say. I mean, I don't know if it's because of places I have lived. It could be because I was like, okay, I can't afford to live in San Francisco and New York. And people who live in San Francisco and New York are under a lot of financial pressure because rent is astronomical. Everything's too much money. So everybody's kind of poor unless you really are, like, a millionaire or a multimillionaire or something like that. So, so everybody's kind of like equally financially strapped, or at least it was when I was living there, when I was growing up. Uh, and and when you're in more traditional or um, like flyover states or more out of the way places, they're liberal, but um, the grandparent has always lived there, and so then when the grandparent died, they the adult child inherits the property, and so people have always had homes for generations, and so they have all this wealth because they've stayed in the same place. Because when you've like lived in New York and then San Francisco and Chicago, blah blah blah, you lose a lot of money because you've just moved a lot, gotten rid of your furniture, and you know you don't have all this um, stuff built up that you would if you were from an area, and lived there your whole life. It's just you just lose a lot of money if you're trying to find a place to live and trying to find a um, better circumstances and stuff like that. So, you know, so I do think the homeless system in the past, it's been solved. It is being solved in other places. I find it utterly ridiculous that people are saying that it never can be solved. I think what happens is people's jobs falter, and so they become homeless because of the job situation, or they lose their housing. They moved away, or they broke up with somebody, and that's a big thing. Like, when women um, uh, get divorced, their income goes down like 10 times or something like that. And so that's another factor. So if there's just a place, and the thing is, people are like, well, just go on Section 8, go on Section 8. And um, from what I can tell, when you're in a government program, it's full of corruption there too. People are doing drugs, people are doing prostitution, there's shady things going on, drug deals going on, murders. There's a lot of criminal activity that comes when you're in the government system, when you're subsidized by the government. And so I just you know and even the government loathes people. The government hates people who are using the system, who need the system, who completely justifiably, authentically deserve the system. But the government workers, I think their profile, they must be misanthropes or something, or they're really, there's something not all there. Like they're not, like it seems like they are very cognitively impaired, or they just, sometimes they don't even seem to have the capacity to speak properly, like audibly, like clearly. And they're American, but I can't understand because they're so disabled or something like that. And and I think maybe um, the government's like, you know, they deny their disability, and they're like, you can work, and so then the person applies, and even though you can't understand what they're saying, it makes the government like, see, even though nobody understands you. I don't know if you can, if that makes sense, but so I think if there wasn't so much prejudice against low income people needing cheap rent, like single occupancy units, because that's what existed in the early 1900s. In so there used to be YMCA's, YWCA's, where people could just stay for a month or for however long. But these all have been outlawed. These all have been shut down. um, Places that used to be like these huge, vast buildings for women who were low income or whatever, like they could stay there. It was huge, 300 people, or I don't know. And everything is turned into businesses, but there's not as many businesses that are opening as much as there are homeless people who need housing, just basic housing. So, and the thing is, this logic, it's like people are like, that doesn't make sense. We can't have a large facility to house lots of people. Like, and the thing is, if somebody breaks the law, they go to jail or they can't come in. I mean, that's like, people are like, oh, don't want homeless shelters. Okay, don't have homeless shelters, but have some low income housing. Have it so people pay you some rent. But like right now, it seems like rents are um, maybe double or triple or more, quadruple what the space is worth, what the amenities are. It's like this artificial inflation. And so I think if there were, all of a sudden, if there was, maybe 2,000 single occupancy units per major large city, uh, and like, and where it was regulated, so you can't break the law here, that would take care of a lot of people, because I think there's a lot of people who are functional, intelligent, and they've lost their way, living on the streets and doing drugs and not sleeping well, and probably being exposed to violent crime and stuff. So I think like that, and actually food. I was listening to an audiobook about Down and Out in Paris and London by George Orwell, and uh, the professor was saying how George was saying these other poor people or homeless people. He said if they had just a few good months, a few months of really good nutrition, they would be fine. And that's the thing also. People, like, number one, our soils are depleted. Most people can't afford everything they buy be organic or homemade, and so people are malnourished, and being exposed to toxins in the water, in the air, in the food, and EMFs and whatnot. So people are being subjected to so many things, so many assaults, and then psychological operations and whatnot. And just because some people can handle the assaults that we're exposed to. And just because some people have a lot of support and are able to live optimal lifestyles, you can't really blame, let's say, a homeless person for not optimi not doing that great, being so messed up. Because when you don't sleep and you're malnourished and you're dehydrated and you're living on the sidewalk and you're exposed to violence, like, and you're doing drugs just to cope, you're going to make bad decisions. But it's not a hopeless situation. That's utterly ridiculous. But I think cities engineer this homelessness. I think it's also diabolical. I think circumstances that make people lose their stability. I think there's some sort of like demonic thing going on. Um, and ultimately, though, when you have a relationship with Lord Jesus Christ, this time, whether whether you're doing well and wealthy and flourishing, or if you're homeless, like, this will be a short blip of time. And what matters more is your eternal soul with Lord Jesus Christ in heaven. So I hope you know that and understand that. And thank you for your patience and for I have like this little light covering and it kind of messed up the top of the video. But anyways, God bless.